Hey guys, Trainer DC here, coming at you with another video. On Pokemon Day, the Pokemon Company released ports for FireRed and Leaf Green on the Nintendo Switch. And for those of you wondering, I did end up picking up the versions of the game on the Switch, and I've been having a lot of fun playing through FireRed on my TV for the first time. Obviously, it's a bit of a different experience as opposed to playing it on a small little Game Boy Advance SP, and I'm enjoying it. It's a game that I think has aged well, surprisingly, despite the fact that it came out 21 years ago. Well, apparently it might not be the only Pokemon port we're going to be getting on the Nintendo Switch in the not too distant future, as a data miner that goes by the name of Yakumono on Blue Sky said a lot of details about how the versions of Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Switch work. But the most interesting thing to me is the last tweet that they have saying the other information I will put out is that the emulator explicitly recognizes ROMs for Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald alongside Fire Red and Leaf Green. So seemingly we're going to be getting Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald ports at some point on the Nintendo Switch. I don't find this to be all that surprising, to be honest, given that with the 3DS, the Pokemon Company released Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the 3DS in the eShop, and then at a later date, they released Gold, Silver, Crystal. So I'm not all that surprised that we're going to be getting Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald ported to the Nintendo Switch at some point, probably either this year or next year. It would make sense for later this year, given that Winds and Waves isn't coming out till 2027, so that would give us something else to hold us over until those games release. But at the same time, it is a bit odd to me that you're going to have Hoenn, you're going to have Kanto on the Switch, but then there's still no way to play Johto, because again, I would argue that Johto and Unova are the two regions that most deserve to get ported to the Nintendo Switch. So what I'm wondering here is, do they continue the ports from here? I would presume, and I'm going to go out on a limb saying this, I would presume that the Fire Red and Leaf Green ports are doing well sales-wise. I would presume that a lot of people have bought Fire Red or Leaf Green, or maybe even both versions like I did on their Nintendo Switch. They're obviously looking at doing Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald on the Nintendo Switch. If those ports do well, are they then going to port over Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Pokemon Black and White, or even Pokemon Black 2 and White 2? My question is, where do they draw the line here with these ports? Because I would argue, and I was talking to a friend about this, my friend Dom actually, who was on the stream the other day, I was talking to him about, it wouldn't be hard for them to do Pokemon XY, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, or even Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon ports on the Nintendo Switch, because those games were made using HD assets. If you play them in an emulator, using the Citrus emulator, I believe it's called, they play in HD. So it's like the assets are already there for those games. Those games are already in HD. They just need to be polished a little bit, and they'd be ready to go on the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, the elephant in the room here regarding any of the DS or 3DS Pokemon games is how exactly do they handle the bottom screen? And that's a question that I don't think anyone has a good answer to, because we really don't know how they would handle the bottom screen. I've been arguing for a while now that I think the solution is just to have them picture in picture with your top screen. Basically, the top screen will be, the entirety of your screen, and then you'll have a little picture in picture in the bottom right of your bottom screen. I think that's the most logical solution to me. They could also do a peripheral where we get some sort of touchscreen device that connects to our Switch, and you can, use that to play these DS games. And an idea that my friend Dom had as well, which I really don't like, but he had this idea nonetheless, is that they come out with a backbone-like controller that basically you put your phone into, and your phone connects to your Switch, and you use that as the bottom screen. I don't like that idea for a multitude of reasons. Number one, when I'm playing my Nintendo Switch, I don't want to have to be using my phone. And number two, the reason why I don't think this would be feasible is because if you have a little kid who's playing a Nintendo Switch and playing these games, chances are they don't have a phone, and they're not gonna run to their parents and be like, hey, mom or dad, can I please use your cell phone to play Pokemon Diamond and Pearl on the Nintendo Switch? Like, I don't think that's a feasible option. So I don't know how exactly they would handle the bottom screen, but again, I think picture in picture is the most likely option. That's basically like what we saw for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, where you had the Poké Watch just on your screen and you could hide it at any given point in time. It was a picture in picture of the Poké Watch instead of it being on the bottom screen. But the elephant in the room here is regarding Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's like, how far do they go with these ports, and would they actually release ports of the original Diamond and Pearl when you effectively have those already available on the Nintendo Switch in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? That's another question as well. If I had to guess, I feel like it's 50-50. I feel like there's a 50% chance after Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald come out, that's it. That's the end of the Pokemon ports on the Nintendo Switch. But I also feel like there's a 50% chance that they continue to go further than that. If they do dive into the DS era of Pokemon, what I think's probably going to end up happening, at least in the beginning, is I think they'll start out with Heart Gold and Soul Silver first, and then they'll either skip over Diamond and Pearl, or they'll do Diamond, Pearl, Platinum next, or if they skip over them, they'll just jump to Black and White and Black 2 and White 2. That is a possibility as well. The last thing I want to talk about here in regards to Pokemon FireRed, Leaf Green, and Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald ports is I'm very curious how they're going to handle the home support for these. We know already that Pokemon Home is going to support FireRed and Leaf Green, and I presume we're probably going to see a brand new origin mark for those games. If you guys don't know what origin marks are these little marks on your Pokemon that started with X and Y. Every single game has a different origin mark from X and Y onward. I'll put a little graph up on screen of all the different origin marks, but nevertheless, for the red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal ports on the 3DS, they got their own unique origin mark. However, the Gen 1 and Gen 2 games shared an origin mark. I'm very curious if this time around they give FireRed and Leaf Green a unique origin mark, and then Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald their own unique origin mark. I would personally prefer that being the case, as I feel like it's so cool to have every single Pokemon game, every single region have their own unique origin mark, and I think that's probably what they're going to do, because if you look at the 3DS era of Pokemon, Pokemon X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire shared one single origin mark. Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon shared one particular origin mark. Again, as I just stated, all of the Virtual Console Gen 1 and Gen 2 games shared one particular origin mark. When Pokemon went to the Nintendo Switch, this is when they started doing one unique origin mark per game. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee have a different origin mark from Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield has a different origin mark from Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl has a different origin mark from Legends Arceus, and so on and so on. So because of that, I'm imagining that we're going to get a special origin mark for FireRed and Leaf Green, and then a special origin mark for Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, which I think is really cool. I do wish they would go back and retroactively grandfather in your Pokemon that you actually transferred up from the original FireRed and Leaf Green, because I actually have Pokemon from FireRed that I have in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or in my Pokemon Home. Same thing for Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Diamond and Pearl, Black and White, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I transfer them all along with me, and they don't have an origin mark. The data's there because it tells you what region they came from. It'd be so cool if they retroactively go in there and see, hey, you have a Pokemon from the Kanto region that's in your Pokemon Home. It's from the original FireRed and Leaf Green, but we're going to give you this new origin mark that we created for the ports of FireRed and Leaf Green. I think that'd be something that'd be really cool to see, but I don't think they're necessarily going to do that, and to be honest, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's just a little thing that I think would be fun and neat to see. But nevertheless, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about the fact that we're seemingly getting Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald ports at a later date on the Nintendo Switch? And where do you think they draw the line with these Pokemon ports? Do you think we'll get the DS era of Pokemon in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Pokemon Black and White and Black 2 and White 2? And do you think if we do get the DS era of Pokemon that they'll eventually get into the 3DS era, or do you think that's going too far? Let me know down below what you guys think about all of that. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from Trainer DC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.